You're listening to Lewis and Harvey Talk Speed and Sport podcast. I'm joined once again by the ever so lovely Lewis. How are you today, Lewis?
Um, Still good.
Still good,
Obviously
very good.
coming off the back of some good motorsports over the weekend.
Yeah, there's triple headed Formula One. Finished off the first half of the BTCC season, so we're looking good. Heading into summer break for motorsports. However, today, Lewis, it's not as it usually is. We're joined by a very special guest. We're joined by the man himself, Lee Duncan. How are you, Lee?
Very well, thank you, guys. How are you both?
I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff.
I'm also still quite good. Do you want to introduce yourself? A bit about what you do.
My name's Lee. This is my third Esports team creation. I'm currently with Unlimited Motorsport. After starting out with Team Hard and the BTCC, so that's where my love is at the moment. Just sticking with it, grinding away. Um, those who know me will know a wee bit about my history, how I started. I got into the esports with Team Brit, and I managed to create one of the GT teams for them, E-Team Brit. So I was a GT sporting manager for 2 years, but then that fell through. And then I created the Team Hard one. That's just been all go about BTCCs since then. So, yep, here I am with Unlimited Motorsport. Hoping to do some crazy project to become another sim driver to real driver in the BTCC, which I'm looking to start the kind of transition next year. So, yeah, pretty exciting stuff, to be fair, guys. Whether I can make it happen or not, it's a different kettle of fish, but I'm certainly going to try.
It sounds very exciting. I mean, best you can do is just give it a go. Why not?
That's
Good
it.
work.
Life's short, guys. Life's short. So go out there. But the rules apply. The same rules apply as a real driver. You know, you need to secure the sponsorship. We need to, get the help on board. But the biggest thing is that I've got the team behind me. Team management support. So yeah, pretty kind of certain that we can make this happen. So yeah, looking forward to it.
That's all good. I mean, at the minute we're seeing a lot of that. I've noticed there's a lot of like kind of esports drivers kind of making their way into like motorsport. That's something that I think
Yeah.
we see a lot more of in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, it's so close to the real thing now. Esports, it's okay. You'll be Gran Turismo, but it's still classed as an arcade game. But it's not what it used to be like. You can set up a lobby with 16 people all around the world, and you all compete together. So that brings it closer. Then you've got the likes of R Factor 2, which has got the BTCC content on it, all the cars and whatnot. So, the interaction's there. And, it's basically it's so much like the real thing. Yeah, I think it's great. I love it. As you maybe gathered that, because at the end of the day, I think it's greener. I wouldn't want motorsport to stop, altogether, but it's greener. I don't, no fuel costs, no tyre costs, no repair damage, just a soft reset, bang, straight into the pit. So suits me, suits me to a T just now. So we'll see. But no, you're right. There's a lot of drivers out there that have came from the switch. So it's not something new. It would just be another new thing in the BTCC. I believe Ash Sutton came from some racing as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Really, I'm looking forward to it.
It does all sound very. It is. I find it quite fascinating actually how it's kind of they're both kind of coming together now. So there is, but there's a fine line at the minute between like different talents, as in like the gap between esports drivers and real drivers because of how accurate it is kind of becoming.
Yeah, yeah. But as I often say to a lot of people, you wonder why Max Verstappen can win a lot of his races. You can ask how many times, Ash Sutton winning all his races. Personally, for me, it's because these guys are on the rig quite a lot that they can fine tune the track, before jumping in the real car. That's
Yeah.
the way I see it. So, no, it's it's welcomed by many, but at the same time, it's not welcomed by others because you know, a lot of guys have come up the ranks through different motorsports to get to the BTCC, whereas, you know, myself trying to jump into the BTCC kind of rustle some feathers, shall we say. But it's all good, you know. As I've said, life's short, so you've got to make the most of it, you know. I have been chasing this dream ever since I started the whole sim racing esports, was to get into real motorsport. So, chasing the dream, guys. Chasing that dream.
All you can do, just you know, if you've got a dream, commit to it and go for it, because why not?
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen?
exactly.
Somebody
It
will
could,
say no. You know what I mean? No, it's not
yeah,
going to happen.
exactly.
But you know, I've got the management on board. Bobby Sharpless, he's the team principal, team owner, and he's all for it. So if he's for it, then I just need to make it happen. You know, I think it would be good for the team to have two cars on that track rather than just leaving Darrell to compete himself. Because you know, even though there's no team rules, it's always kind of nicer to have another car on that
Yeah,
track. That you've got a wee bit of coverage, if that makes sense. You
yeah.
know,
I think,
you know, when you
yeah,
go,
I
sorry.
think. Sorry. I think no matter what, to be fair, whether people are a fan of like kind of the sports drivers coming into mainstream racing or not, I think everybody's always going to be happy to kind of see that extra car or you know the extra cars on a grid because at the end of the
Yeah,
day, it's going to give us better racing. So why complain?
that's my thoughts exactly. Plus, it would give Darrell a wee bit of kind of support as well, you
Yeah,
know. But again, no team orders go out there. But it's just, you know, I don't know. I think it just looks better and it's a wee bit safer. So we'll
yeah,
see. But you know, to do it right and do it through all the stages, potentially looking at about 3 years
right.
to complete from start to finish. So, I'm not over. I'm not there yet, but no, I've certainly got the passion. You know, I've done
Yeah,
what I've done for the last 5, 6 years, unpaid, just purely because I love motorsport and the BTCC. You know, I've been going since a wee kiddie. Took my boys along. So, no, I'm pretty kind of passionate about what I do. So,
I've got a question. The first, I got one of two. The first one is obviously you do a lot of sim racing across like different games. I got to ask what's your favorite obvious game to play? And
okay.
the second part of that is how much do you think COVID helped, you know, people see sim racing a lot more? Because I think it obviously boosted people's profiles of sim racing by so much.
Oh, 100%, definitely. There is no doubt that COVID is probably the only good thing to come from COVID, or one of, was the fact that you know nobody could hit the real track. Everybody jumped onto the sim racing, and you know it's a £1 billion market now. You know, I mean there's Guild Esports that's owned, but well, thingied by David Beckham, and they do the sim racing now. So it's really taken off since COVID. I'd probably say it's quadrupled the market. So yeah, but touching on the game, this is going to probably cause a lot of kind of controversy because I know it's something that's spoken of a lot, and I've kind of touched on it just previously. The Gran Turismo is the most accessible racing game out there. Every household, every second household in the world's probably got a PlayStation in it. And 9 times out of 10, you know, somebody will have Gran Turismo. So that's where my journey started. I'll never ever forget about it. I'll never, you know, push it to the side because there is still this kind of barrier where you've got the console guys and then you've got the PC guys, and the PC guys say that you know the console guys don't do the same kind of racing. But you know, because I'm the team principal, I've got to cover all. So I have the PlayStation. It's only a 4, by the way. It's poverty spec. So I've got the PlayStation 4 and then I've got the PC, so I can touch Gran Turismo 7, then I can get into a set of Corsa Competizione or R Factor 2, even iRacing if I wish to do it. The problem being is that every racing game has a different setup on the steering wheel, so it becomes very, very tricky to kind of get the settings right each time you switch off of one. So, does take a wee bit of time, but no, Gran Turismo is by far my best, most favourite game. And just everything that you can do with it is just phenomenal. You've got the livery package, livery editor, and you can design any cars that you want. So, replicating the Duckham's car is just phenomenal. I love it. I just love it. I love racing. I love doing the liveries. I love managing the team because I had a lot of kind of retail management background. So yeah, I'm kind of bringing everything together to achieve this.
And just going off of that, I'm wondering, like, what goes into the day-to-day running of being a team principal of the esports team?
Well, it's a wee bit harder this time, right? Because what happens is you've got to prove to the team and you've got to prove to the sponsors that you're going to look after them. That's the truth. Another reason why I've managed to do what I've done, because I don't have a lot of racers. I don't have like 40, 50 guys on board racing all over the world. There's about 5 of us at the moment. So basically what I would normally do is whatever championships they have on a weekly is I do a rota. So I know exactly who's been into what. I'll make sure they've got the right car for that competition because, it could be GR3, which is like your Porsche RSR, or it could be GR4, which is out in Cayman. And you can even have like the LMP, which is like your Le Mans prototype stuff. So I've got to make sure that the cars are ready for these guys to compete. And then I've got my own stuff on top of that. So yeah, it can be very interesting at times.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously you've touched on that. How do you reckon it kind of differs between kind of prepare like so obviously before any race meet, any race event, you've got obviously some preparation you have to go into it. So how do you kind of prepare for like sim racing compared to how Daryl will kind of prepare for being the actual kind of like car and prepping for that race?
And the
Is there
real
like
car,
is there like similar kind of procedures in like looking at like track data, etc., or does it differ quite a lot?
you can look at that on the PC. There are applications out there, Track Titan, etc., that basically monitor your lap, and then it gives you can sit down and you can review it, and they'll say right, come out wider here or break earlier here, blah blah blah. So that's all on mostly PC. When it comes to Gran Turismo, it's basically just go out there, practice, and just keep shaving times off your lap. I always look. I'm not a World GT series driver racer, right? These guys are pure aliens. Plus, they're about half my age, so I get that I'll never ever probably appear on the World Series in Gran Turismo. However, I have got some really quick friends, and if I manage to, get within a certain bracket of them, then that's me achieve what I need to. So
Yeah. It's a very I think like I've said I think I've said it before, but I'm very interested in kind of how the esports scene is progressing because like we said we see it more every day getting closer and closer to motorsports. It's growing in popularity itself, like how you used to be able to have like these GT World Series and how
mhm,
like stuff like F1 esports are kind of kicking off as well.
there you go.
So there is a lot of kind of potential for maybe like those kids who, when they were younger, who thought, what, I want to get karting, I want to get up to Formula One, BTCC, all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. But like, even when factors such as money kind of limit things, esports
Yeah.
is kind of more of it's still quite an expensive route, but it's more
Mhm.
accessible than the likes of
Yep.
your motorsports proper.
Yep, very much so, very much so. And again, you've touched on that word accessible. Every second household in the world has probably got a PlayStation in it, whether it be a 4 or a 5. These guys can just jump on and meet. To get started, you don't need to have a fancy rig. You don't need to have a fancy screen. You don't need to have a fancy seat. You don't. You know, I wouldn't even tell you what I started in. It was like a deck chair. It was a £50 Rocker X special that I started out in, because it was like a kind of foldable seat, so I could keep it in my room and bring it out when I wanted. And then switched up to a play seat, GT1. But now, obviously, in my Pro Sim U rig, you don't need to have all the fancy Nancy stuff. I know guys out there that can compete on a controller, or aka a pad, and they can be just as quick as the folk that are on a steering wheel. That doesn't work for me. I'm terrible on it. I only use the pad to do deliveries. I don't use it to do any racing at all. No way. Give me the steering wheel and the pedals. I'll take it every day long. So couldn't compete. No way. Not on a pad.
Yeah, it's like you said though, that just kind of proves how like the levels of realism, how close they're getting now. Because I mean, like how like you can like some of the rigs that are available, and like the wheel setups are like they're insane. You're like,
I'd an insane price.
yeah,
But see if you're going to do it properly. Unless you know that you can be just as good as Ash Sutton or Max Verstappen, why go out there and buy triple screens, a full motion rig and all the rest of it? That's not really going to make you any faster. It's just going to look good, But again, you need to find what's best for you. I'm in this rig. It's absolutely fantastic. This was gifted to me by my Team Hard sponsor, Sim Demon, who gave me this Pro Sim U rig and Pro Sim. What do you call it? The base of the rig and the seat. So I wouldn't have this if it wasn't for them. But the screen wise, I don't have a triple screen. I've got a 32-inch curved Odyssey. I'm on a Thrustmaster T300 RS wheel, which I've had. Well, I started out in a belt-driven Thrustmaster T80, which is very, very poverty. But it gave me, it opened up an avenue that I was like, this is great. I love this. This is brilliant. Let's stick with it. So I upgraded to the T300. I'm not one for, what would you say, having the most expensive kit, because it doesn't really make you any faster. It comes from you, but it's nice to have the right stuff that works, but it's finding that fine line of, performance over, cost at the end of the day. So, I mean, I've been in this same rig over a year now, since somebody even gave me this one for sponsorship. So I love it, and I doubt I'll ever come out it, to be fair. So we'll see.
Well, coming off of obviously talking about sponsorship, I've got to ask, how much does marketing yourself play into trying to secure sponsors, and obviously with your plans for next year, how important is it to try and get attention? Well, like, it's the wrong way to say it, garner attention, to you and your abilities.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be particularly easy. But since I started this project, the only thing I've ever replicated is the real drivers, in the BTCC. So you've got to be, on all your social media. You've got to be pretty active, interactive with the public and stuff like that. I don't really do as much of that as what I should do, but obviously I'm trying to with this podcast. But I don't know. It's really a kind of funny game, to be honest with you. It's about being noticed. I know for a fact that a few of the big sponsors currently for Unlimited Motorsport are, very welcoming to the esports, myself, the team, because they think it's a great thing to be doing. So it's just getting the right people tuned into it or they know how important esports is just now, because it's a package. I've said this before. I think every single motorsport team, if they can have an esports team, is very beneficial in more ways than one. Because at the end of the day, I do a lot of I do all the social media for myself and the esports team. So we're on Twitter, X, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, we're on them all. But again, it's promoting it, it's pushing that brand out there to be recognised. But the whole that transition from esports to real racer is always quite welcomed. So I'm hoping to get a kind of Prime video or Netflix involved to record it as a documentary, because it is quite a journey. There's a lot of things I've not discussed or not many people will know, but I had a bit of kind of a health issue back in 2016, where I was put in a coma with my body shutting down. So the fact that I made it through to do what I'm doing, is quite a great achievement. I really have came through the ranks myself. It's all self-driven, self-promoted. Everything's just done by me. So.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said there, is you've got to kind of be able to kind of push yourself through kind of like the harder times to, like you said, to achieve kind of what you want to achieve. Because at the end of the day, if you put your mind to it, it is possible to do. I think you're proving that right here. With
I'm trying to prove it. I'm trying to prove it, buddy. Trying to prove it.
Yeah.
But as I say, you'll always have this wall between PC and console. Because your PC guys are spending thousands upon thousands of pounds for what they do, but then you've got the console guys that have got a PlayStation, Xbox, and they play on a controller. But for me, having to cover them all, there is no difference between them in my eyes. It's just they've all got different content on them. That's the way I see it. Obviously, your PC, the graphics are going to be slightly different to a PlayStation, but it's not much. It really isn't much.
Yeah. Like, what would you say to somebody, like, let's say somebody younger who's maybe watching this and isn't quite sure whether they can achieve what they want to do through esports? So what would you say to them?
Take your time. And if you find that you get any kind of enjoyment or love from, being on a pad and being involved in the races, then there's no reason. But you don't need to spend. A lot of people think it is very costly, and it is when you're looking at SimUcube or all these different fancy brands that are thousands and thousands of pounds worth of kit. It doesn't need to be that way to start out. I started out, as I said, in, like a sun lounger, my television, and I only had the PlayStation, the game, plus that T80, and I've just bit by bit upgraded, what I've needed to get where I am today. Apart from the Pro SimU seat from Sim Demon, everything else is came from me, over the years, just building it up. So yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I've another question I've got to ask is how much do you think that like attending touring car events and British GT with just a basic ticket you have access to so much of the paddock and everything. So how much do you think that helps, inspire, people to want to start off? Because with the higher ends of motorsport, you don't get to see any of the work that gets put into it. But with touring car events, you can see everyone working.
Yeah. Well, British touring cars has always been a kind of a family orientated, if that's the right word. So it's very, very important for these guys to, get the public behind them, and interact with the public and families. So, obviously we offer VIP packages to certain guests, where they come down and they can get a kind of a walk around the garage, you can get the pit walk and grid walk and all the rest of it. So, you don't get that to anybody in the Formula One. So it's just that whole interaction. That's what it is. I mean, I've got Knock Hill coming up. We start next month, August. And that'll be the first time I've met the team in person this season. So, no, I'm looking forward to it. It's always nice to interact with the new team. It really is. So,
Yeah. Like you said, next kind of half of the BTCC season coming up. It's looking interesting. Do you enjoy going on to the events yourself? Having a look around?
yes, well, very much so. Very much so. I mean, as I said, I've got Knock Hill coming up at the start of August, 10th and 11th. And yeah, it's a busy time for me, shall we say, because you want to help out the team the best you can. Another reason for the whole esports was that it would offer the British touring car teams assistance. So that might be hospitality, because a lot of the teams have got the trucks for hospitality, and every set of pair of hands does help. So I wanted to use the esports to assist the teams that way, but we've not managed it so far. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what comes. I think that just kind of gets that whole interaction there, because, as I said, all I've had from all the teams that I've created the esports is, it's been great. Really, really been welcomed. So
Yeah, 'cause it's like independent, kind of like privateer teams, like Duckham's. They're always kind of like viewed as the underdogs, like being kind of harder for them in motorsports. But I think really when you look at them teams, it's the passion kind of behind. There tends to be a lot more kind of passion in the garages. Like every team's always passionate anyway, but you look at those kind of independent privateer teams, they've a lot more to fight for. So the atmosphere within them teams are always very up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all I've helped is independent teams, because I feel that obviously they need the assistance, the best assistance they can get. Not everybody's got the luck to have manufacturers behind them, which is a big outlay. It's probably the biggest outlay going into a race. Is having the right car. So the fact that you've got these independent teams that still managed to make the track is quite phenomenal. I mean, I know the costs, I know what's involved. It's quite phenomenal. Knowing what the BTCC much it is to get a car on board, so I can only imagine what the F1 would be like. But that's a completely different thing again in Formula One. So.
Yeah, Lewis, have you got anything to say?
I've got just some general questions of, obviously, what is your favourite track in the UK, and what is your dream car to eventually race?
Favourite track? See, I need to be careful with this here. That's a trick question. Obviously, Brands Hatch. I love Brands Hatch. Knock Hill's my local track. So it's a kind of heads or tails between those two. Brands Hatch is the closest to the team. Knock Hill's the closest track to me. I've spent a lot of time at Knock Hill over the years. It used to be in kind of hot hatch days and stuff like that, so you would just turn up in your car and racing the track. So used to do that quite a bit in my younger days. Not so much now.
What kind of obviously touching on what Lewis said there, if money and sponsorship wasn't a question, right? If take that out of the equation, what would kind of the dream kind of series to race in for you?
British touring cars. There's got to be the British touring cars, right?
Yeah.
But I had this vision only a couple of weeks ago, which again over the past few days is really inspiring me to, believe it or not, bring Volvo back. I would love to see Volvo back on that track. I don't know why. I'm not asking for a big estate car. But I don't know. I just think it was great when Volvo were on board the British touring cars. I was reading a thing yesterday for Autosport, and it was their top 10 cars throughout, which I shared on my Instagram page. I couldn't believe it when there was no Volvo. I thought the most iconic car, a Volvo estate in the touring car series that done extremely well. Yet it's not in the top 10 that they recommend them. But that's got to be a typo error or something. That's got to be real. That's not real. That so. No, I would like to see Volvo. I would like to see Volvo come back out. So Volvo, if you're listening, give me a wee shout.
Never know, they might be. Hopefully.
Well, I've heard that they'd stopped selling the more kind of saloons and hatchback cars in the UK. It was all the kind of SUV style ones, but now they're going to bring these cars back into the UK market. So we'll see. They do the TCR series, and some of the Volvos, So we'll see. I'll maybe phone Polestar.
Yeah, so when it comes to kind of esports, you got any kind of big events coming up esports wise?
There's a few. But again, being team principal and trying to find what would you say? I need to feel comfortable before I get all the other guys on board to do different things. There's lots and lots and lots of championships out there. However, the ones that I want to compete in, one of them being the British GT Esports Series, I want to get on board with that. But that was at the start of the year. I'd love to get involved with the GT World Challenge Series as well with SRO. But again, that's just no long started as well. So unfortunately, I'm going to keep missing out on the big events. So I just kind of pretty much ponder away with Gran Turismo just now. But I dip my toes into everything. Anything that I can possibly get on board with. But, it's only myself, so you've got to be careful at the same time. I have created a job from what I do, purely because I've got the time there to do it. And I would recommend it to anybody that's, got the time with it. And if you enjoy motorsport, honestly, you'll never look back. I wasn't in a great place with my illness. Struggled with kind of depression and all the rest of it. Again, that was until I started sim racing. Just because I love motorsport, because I love the touring cars or any series, to be fair. It just brings me into that wee world. Okay, it's virtual, it's not real, but it's as close as I'll get to at the moment. So we'll see.
Yeah, just for those listening at home, where can they find out a bit more about you, like find out your socials, etc.?
Dead easy, Lee Duncan, or AKA what I've been called now, Leedy, because Lee Duncan. So a lot of guys call me Leedy. Leedy Racing is my social media. You'll find me on either one of those. I would say to anybody, if you're interested in getting involved in some racing or you want to find out more, don't hesitate to fire me over a message. You guys can maybe use a link from my page. I've got Linktree as well. So you guys can maybe put that on the clip for people to access. And if they want to, I help people out as well, not just on the track. I have people who message me on LinkedIn or whatever it is. They want to compete, they want to get into it more professionally. Come speak to me. I know what it's done for me. And at the end of the day, it's just a big community. So the more the merrier, the way I see it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Lee. We'll make sure to link you in, make sure people can find out who you are and where you are.
You'll Google me. You can find me on Google. Lead on to some racing, you'll find me. No bother.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Lee. It's been a very interesting little chat with yourself, and we look forward to seeing you. Yeah, we look forward to hopefully seeing you on the BTCC grid come next year very soon. So yeah, if you want to find out
one of those beautiful Cupras.
Yeah, I must say it's a very stunning looking car.
That is a nice car. That is a nice car.
Yeah,
it is a very nice car. No. Stay tuned on my socials, guys. That's where it'll all come from on there.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Thanks
for that
for
one.
having me.
Thank you,
No
Lee.
problem at all, guys.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you again.